Hello and welcome in to the best weekend of football ever. I think so. A lot of people are saying it. This is the PHLY Bet Show presented by our friends over at Bet365. Find out why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Use promo code PHLY365 at sign up for new users, and you'll find out why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. You can get yourself a nice $150 in bonus bets guaranteed right now. And if you're a new user, this is the weekend to take advantage of it, because this has always been championship weekend is great. Wild card weekend is great. Divisional round matchups to me is the mecca of the NFL. I love this weekend. So we're going to preview the 4 games. I'll give you my national championship, a little sprinkle at the end there. But let's just dive right into it. A couple league trends, just 2 league trends I want to make everyone aware of for this weekend. Both Saturday games are big spreads, with the Houston Texans at Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Commanders at the Detroit Lions. Favorites of over a touchdown of 7.5 or more bigger than 7.5 spreads have won 18 consecutive playoff games outright, dating back to the 2019-2020 playoffs. So just something to keep in mind. Certainly it doesn't, the Texans and Commanders can easily cover, but 18 consecutive games won for those teams with big spreads. Since 2003, home teams in the divisional round coming off a bye, Kansas City, Detroit, are 33, 42, and 1 against the spread, a mere 44% cover rate in those spots, including 3 and 5 against the spread since 2020, and as a favorite of 7 or more off of a bye, again, similar, 17, 24, and 1 for a 42% cover rate. So something to keep in mind there. I do like one of these dogs this weekend. I might even be able to talk into the Houston Texans as well, but let's just get right to the games. The Houston Texans versus Kansas City Chiefs. If there's a Saturday afternoon playoff game, you can just pencil the Houston Texans into that slot because it's where they live in the playoffs. Now, the Houston Texans are at a very cold Kansas City this weekend, where the game time temperature is expected to be around 20 degrees. The Houston Texans are 8.5-point dogs. Over-under on this one falls in at 41.5. And if you like the Texans to pull off the upset, you can get them plus 375 on the money line right now on Bet365. All right, let's get into this game. Some trends, some facts, some things to look at, a couple player props I might like as well. Kansas City is trying to do something rare that hasn't been done since the 1988 and 89 49ers did it, and that is win back-to-back titles as the preseason betting favorite. It's a hard thing to do, and if you followed the Chiefs this year, they kind of hang in every game. They pull away late in some, and others they don't. Not a great cover team on the year. This is a different kind of Kansas City team where I don't want to say Patrick Mahomes appears human, but he kind of does. It's not the same Travis Kelce we've known in the past. It's just a little bit of a different vibe in KC. The over-under in this one is 41.5. Of Patrick Mahomes' 18 career playoff games, this is the lowest total. His previous low was 43.5 against the Dolphins last year. So that's what I mean. This is not the same high-powered, high-scoring Kansas City offense we're all used to. Now, Travis Kelce has a lot to play for individually, aside from winning a Super Bowl. And if you think that's important and you think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid want to help him get there, then you might look at some of his player props this weekend. I do like his anytime touchdown at plus 120 right now on Bet365, but he is 343 yards away from breaking Jerry Rice's all-time playoff receiving mark. He's also 3 touchdowns away from Jerry Rice's all-time touchdown mark. Emotional intelligence, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, I just feel like they're going to feed him if they get close to the goal line. So I'm taking that anytime touchdown plus 120. Now, the second half under alert. The Chiefs are a machine at second half unders. So if you're a big half bettor, keep this one in mind. Over the last 2 seasons, the second half under in Chiefs games is 28-10. It's covering it 74% of the time. That is a staggering amount. So consider the under if you're a half bettor. The Texans, if you're a first half bettor, they start strong. They start games strong. They fall off a cliff in the second half a lot of times. But when it comes to covering first half spreads, the Texans are 14-4 against first half spreads this season. D'Amico Ryans is 26-11 against first half spreads in his time in Houston, including 26-9 in the first half against the spread with CJ Stroud at quarterback. So you could probably take the Texans in the first half here and feel somewhat confident about it. 74% hit rate is very, very nice. Very, very sexy. You like. The 20-degree weather game. In the last 20 years, a dome team has played outdoors in sub-30-degree weather for the playoffs 9 times. Did I catch a niner in there? 9 times. Those teams are 2-7 straight up, losing by more around 10 points per game. It's like 10.2 points per game on average. So there's some information for you. I could be talked and swayed into the Houston Texans, but having watched the Chiefs a bunch this year, what is going to happen is it'll be close till late. The Kansas City Chiefs will score a touchdown in the fourth quarter that covers the 8.5, and the score will look more lopsided than the game actually played out to be. So give me the Chiefs minus the 8.5. I like the Texans a little bit, so this will be a minor play for me with the Chiefs just because I think they'll cover late in this one. But I do like the Travis Kelce anytime touchdown. And then on the injury front, Joe Mixon is looking probable to play this Saturday. Saturday night, 8 o'clock. The Washington Commanders right now are 9.5-point dogs traveling to Detroit. The over-under on this one is a large number, 55.5 it's up to on Bet365. If you think the Commanders can pull it off, you might want to take a look at that plus 400 money line. That's something sweeter than Yoo-hoo right there. 55.5, that's a large number. The last playoff game to close with a number of 55.5 or bigger was back in 2021 when the Browns and Chiefs faced off against each other. Baker Mayfield versus Patrick Mahomes. Who could forget? That score finished 22-17. So a fairly easy under there. If it goes 56 or higher, it would be the largest since the 2019 playoffs between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Interesting stuff there. Teams with a bye in the playoffs, like Kansas City in the divisional round, are only cashing against the spread at a 44% clip since 2003. So that speaks fairly well, or I said Chiefs, to the Lions. That speaks well to the Commanders' chances. 56% chance of covering there for the Commanders. In playoff games between 1 and 6 seeds, the under, this is another large number. The under in those games is 19-5 against the spread, almost 80% of the time over the last 20 years. Now, Jaden Daniels, he's a reason I like the Commanders in this one. He's in rare company. Jaden Daniels is only the third quarterback to lead a fourth quarter comeback in the postseason on the road. This kid's got onions. If this turns into a shootout, I think he's very capable of hanging and going toe for toe with Jared Goff. I am a big Jaden Daniels fan. So I that's not many kids go on the road and pull upsets in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. He already did that. Jared Goff, he's been a cover machine with the Lions. His time with the Lions, he is covering games at a staggering rate. He is 34-13-1 against the spread in his time in Detroit. That is incredibly impressive. The Commanders, they are in a tough spot here. Teams on a third straight road game this late in the season are 45-72 straight up since 2003, only hitting at 39% of the time. That being said, I do like the Commanders to cover this. Now, I want to say over. 55.5 is a large number. I would probably lean over, and once I get the game day itch and I'm on the Bet365 app, I'll probably parlay the Commanders and the over in this one. But I like the Commanders just because it's a huge number. I know I gave you the Jared Goff and Dan Campbell cover rate, and it's staggering. I just like Jaden Daniels. I think he can keep it within 10 points. If you're somebody that likes buying the hook, you can buy that up to 10. This feels like it's a game that's going to be decided between like 6 and 9 points here. So give me the Commanders in this one. I'm going to take my chances. Could look like an idiot come Monday, but wouldn't be the first for me. All right, Sunday, 3 o'clock, the one every Eagles fan cares about. I would say it's the game of the weekend if it wasn't for the Sunday night game, but the Los Angeles Rams traveling into Philadelphia to face our Birds. In December or later, this is the new national narrative that has just taken off and is snowballing out of control. Matthew Stafford used to be terrible in December. Now he's great. Okay, he also played the 49ers, the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Saints. Now, I'll give him the Bills win. That's an impressive one. But in those other games, they haven't been scoring a lot, and they're kind of getting by, I don't want to say with luck, but those are some bad teams, some very unserious franchises there. Prior to this year, Matthew Stafford was 6-24 straight up as an underdog. In 2024, he is now 3-0 straight up as an underdog, winning by an average of 8.7 points per game in those matchups. Now, his December games, we just went over, not that great of a gauntlet of games. Now, Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, he is not a great cover quarterback against the spread as a favorite. Jalen Hurts is 17-20-2 against the spread as a favorite of over 3 points. Now, currently right now on Bet365, the Eagles are -6. The over-under is 43.5. And the Eagles, you have to lay -275 if you want to get them on the money line. The Rams, for example, on the money line are +225. Now, again, back to the halves and quarters. I think there's a lot of money to be made in these types of bets because teams have trends, and the Eagles are one of these teams. They have slow starts, strong finishes. They are 13-5 against the spread in the third quarter this year, and 11-7 against the spread in the fourth quarter this year. Philadelphia is 6-12 against the fourth quarter spread. That is not good. The fifth worst mark of any team in the NFL, and they're 13-5 against the second quarter spread for the best mark in the NFL. So if you're a quarters better, chances are if you bet the Eagles in the second, third, and fourth quarters, you'll probably see a decent return on your money. Bet against them in the first quarter. That is something that has been true all year long. I don't expect it to change this weekend, but obviously as a Birds fan, I'm hoping it does a little bit. Now, Matthew Stafford, look, he came from a dome in Detroit out to the perfect weather of Southern California, and thoughts and prayers with everybody out in LA. Really cool stuff by Birds fans donating to the wildfire relief fund that's going on in LA. So that's good vibes for the Birds fans there. But Matthew Stafford, he stinks in the cold. Stafford has started just one game this year in 40-degree or colder temperatures. Over the last 3 years. I thought it was 1 year in my note. It's 3 years. He's only started one game in 40-degree or colder temperatures, and it was earlier this year versus the Jets. The Rams only scored 19 points and won 19-9 against the Jets. The Jets are not a serious franchise. But Matthew Stafford, I would say the cold affected him. In franchise history, the Eagles have never lost a home game in the divisional round. They are 6-0 straight up, covering the spread in 5 of those 6 games. Since 2003, the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, which unfortunately Matthew Stafford is one of them, they're covering games as an underdog in the playoffs at a 71% clip. They're 62-25-2 against the spread. That being said, I don't care. The Eagles are going to cover this spread. I really believe it. Now, they'll cover the 6 points. I see this being like an 8 to 10 point kind of victory. I could see the Rams getting one of those games out of reach, late, backdoor covers. One of those late scores that makes the game look closer than it actually was type of things. I think they're going to struggle in the cold. It is what it is. Now, some player props I like for this one. Saquon Barkley's over-under is 111 yards and a half. I hate to say I would lean under, but that's a really high over-under for a running back. And check out this stat. 8 times a team has refaced the opponent that they've rushed for over 200 yards against in the same season. And Saquon had like 227 versus the Rams earlier this year. None of those 8 running backs have gotten over 100 yards in their next meeting. So you have to think that maybe Chris Shula and the Rams defense are going to sell out to take Saquon out of this and maybe force Jalen Hurts and the Eagles wide receivers to beat him, which is certainly a good situation for the Eagles to be in with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. So I kind of lean under on Saquon a little bit. I wouldn't want to bet that, but I did want to get those facts and information out there because 0-8 is kind of a staggering number there. This one just jumped out to me in neon. Jahan Dotson over 2.5 yards. Just give me one catch for like 3 or 4 yards, and that's free money. Come on, Jahan. 2.5 yards, we can do it. Matthew Stafford, I do think the Rams are going to be behind in this one, so I do like the over 220.5 passing yards. Doesn't mean the Rams are going to win, but I think they're going to have to throw to get back in the game. So give me the over 220.5 in the cold in Philadelphia. All right, game of the week. Ravens at Bills. The Bills are currently, right now, this is rare, they are a 1-point underdog at home in the playoffs. Ravens are a 1-point favorite. Over-under on this one is 51.5. Money line fairly split. To take the Ravens, you got to have minus 115 on the line. If you want to take the Bills, minus 105 on the line. Lamar Jackson, this is a huge game for him and the narrative of him in the playoffs. Josh Allen, now this is wild. The Bills, currently as a dog in the playoffs, will close an 18-game streak of being the home favorite in the playoffs, dating back to the merger in 1970. It is rare for a road team to go on the road in Buffalo in the freezing cold and be a favorite. That's how much respect Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have right now. Now, the big one to pay attention to in this game is the health of Zay Flowers. Ian Rappaport this morning said it's looking unlikely that he plays, but they obviously want him out there, and we know he takes the lion's share of targets in the Ravens offense. Josh Allen, well, he's a freaking vampire. He is on the streak of all streaks. Josh Allen has covered the second half spread in 11 straight games in which he's played in the second half. He's 15-2 against the spread in second halves this season, the best of any mark of any quarterback in the NFL. Now, this is the 5th time Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have faced off against one another. Baltimore is 2-2 straight up, 3-1 against the spread in those games. As either a favorite of 3 points or less or an underdog, Lamar Jackson is a machine. He's 26-9 against the spread in his career in both the regular season and playoffs. Pretty eye-popping. When opponents score 21 or more points against the Bills, Buffalo is terrible. They're just 4-22 against the spread dating back to 2022, which is the worst mark for any team against the spread in the entire NFL. During that same span, the Ravens are 9-12-2 against the spread in that spot, the 3rd best mark in the NFL. And an over alert in this one, the Bills are a NFL best 14-4 to the over on their team total this season. That includes going 8-1 at home to the over. So that kind of lends to over 51.5 in this one. That being said, give me the Ravens. I think they're a more complete team. I think they're the better team. The Buffalo defense has been reeling a little bit. So I do like the over. I do like the Baltimore Ravens in this one. If you want to look at some Mark Andrews props, like an anytime touchdown. Oh, and Matt Impey in the chat says he loves the Bills this weekend. Look, there's some Josh Allen numbers out there that are truly scary to bet against. This guy is a vampire. He doesn't die easily. It's probably going to be a great game. Get your popcorn ready. I'm really excited for this one, but I'm going to lean slight Ravens on this one. All right, to recap some of the bets here that I like, I'm taking a shot with the Commanders. 9.5 points right now on Bet365. I like that one. I also like... Excuse me, I lost my notes there. I also like the Ravens, which we just talked about, minus the 1. And then I threw together that same game parlay of a couple player props I like. Eagles money line, Dallas Goedert over 37.5 yards, and Matthew Stafford over the 220.5 passing yards. You can grab that same game parlay at plus $4.50 right now on Bet365. All right, we're getting out of here. But Monday night is the national championship game. PHLY Bets won't be back until next week. But I do like the Ohio State Buckeyes. They're -8 versus Notre Dame. Ohio State's just kind of a machine. Once they lost to Michigan and everybody wanted to fire Ryan Day, it was almost written. The script was written that Ohio State would win the national championship because that's just funny. So give me the Buckeyes on Monday night, minus the 8 points. Hopefully we're going to take all of our winnings from the weekend, NFL Divisional Round, and roll it into the Buckeyes on Monday night. But thank you to Bet365. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, you can call or text 1-800-GAMBLER at any time. Betting is supposed to be fun. Let's be informed. Let's have fun with it. Don't bet above our means and try to win some money. To everybody out there, thanks for tuning in. Let's hit that thumbs up button before you get out of here. And let's make some money this weekend. Let's take Bet365's money. Until next week and the championship weekend, I'll see you then here on the PHLY Bets Show presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.